to Bill Madden after this break. You're listening to From the Pressbox, right here on 90.3 FM, WHPC, the radio voice of Nassau Community College.
WHPC, Garden City, New York, the voice of Nassau Community College.
Listen. Join WHPC's Daily News Wrap-Up, weekdays at 4:30 p.m., bringing you a complete report of the day's news home and abroad, as well as sports, weather, and many other informative features.
We're Long Island's FM alternative.
Tune into Thunder Road for
The heart-stopping, band-dropping, hard-rocking, earth-shocking, booty-shaking, love-making, Viagra-taking, history-making, legendary.
Join me, Kim Tracy, for the music of Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band on Thunder Road, Thursdays at 11 p.m. and Sundays at 1 p.m. on 90.3 WHPC, and streaming at ncc.edu/WHPC.
When you're just driving around the block or up this street, you don't need to wear a seatbelt because you know you're not going to be in a car crash, right? Wrong. Because anybody who's ever been in a car crash can tell you they never saw it coming. So always buckle up. Always. A message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this station, 90.3 FM WHPC, the radio voice of Nassau Community College.
12 noon, Motor Mouth Radio. All they do is talk about cars. Every day, they call each other on the phone, let's talk about cars. And then they get this one little hour of slab, but they're actually on the air sharing it with everyone else. You know, Ray Guarino and Chris Switzer, they're the hosts. They come in at about 11 o'clock. They're talking cars the first hour here. And then they go on the air at 12. They do a whole hour show there where you can call in with any questions or comments. And then at 1 o'clock, they continue the conversation in the parking lot. They talk more about cars. That's all they talk about is automobiles. I don't get it. That's why they do the show.
Motor Mouth Radio. Thursday and Sunday at 12 noon, right here on 90.3 WHPC.
This is Glenn DeMilt. Join me every Tuesday and Saturday afternoon at 5 for 2 big hours of music and memories with the chairman of the board. It's Frank Sinatra on Sinatra Serenade. Each week we'll take you on a musical journey through the career of this entertainment icon. It's all about old Blue Eyes. So listen to Sinatra Serenade on WHPC 90.3, the radio voice of Nassau Community College.
Streaming online at ncc.edu/WHPC.
Welcome back to From the Pressbox. I'm Rob Leonard, and with me is my co-host Tim Leonard. As we talk about the world of sports, we will have Bill Madden in the next segment. Actually, we're gonna have him at 10:30, not 10:15, to talk about his book, 1954. Now we were talking about the Knicks, Carmelo Anthony. Do you think he'll resign though?
I think he wants to feel wanted. There was
Do we need to rub his belly? I mean,
we might have to. Phil Jackson said something about, the Knicks would move on with or without Carmelo, and he kind of made it sound like they don't necessarily need him. And that was a mistake. And I understand where Phil was coming from, and I understand what, he was trying to make a positive statement and to let people know, hey, everything's going to be all right no matter what happens. But the guys in the NBA especially seem to have these very fragile egos because they've been stroked since they were like 10 or 11 years old, because once they're discovered as being talented ball players, people just do whatever they can to make them happy. And the word is, and I haven't seen it from Carmelo Anthony himself, but the word is that Carmelo felt a little slighted. I don't think it has anything to do with the decision to opt out, because like I said before, he was planning on doing this. He's been planning on doing this for at least 8 months, and he said he wanted to be able to be courted. He wanted to have teams be interested in him, and why not take advantage of the opportunity to be a free agent. And he's still in his prime. He's 30 years old. So obviously there are going to be teams that are interested. There aren't that many that can actually pay for his services, though. But why not do it? And that's nobody can fault him for that. But do the Knicks need him? Yes. Would it be better for the Knicks if Anthony came back and did so at something of a cut rate price where the max that the Knicks can pay Anthony is about $129 million over 5 years. Now, another team...
Not bad.
Not bad. That's a lottery. But another team can pay him, I believe it was $96 million over 4 years. Now, the per year value really isn't that much different, but would he come back to the Knicks for, say, $110 million over 5 years and save them, that's another $4 million a year that they can use for either another free agent or for a supporting cast, bench guys, stuff like that.
The thing is, one thing about James Dolan is if you do something like that, he remembers you forever. He's one of those guys where, okay, I'm going to remember you. You need help with your charity down the road? I'm going to help you. If you need help getting your name out there, we have our own network we can put you on a lot. There's little things like that which he's very good at.
Yeah, you want an assistant general manager's job? Yeah, Allen Houston.
Well, yeah, there's a great example.
Allen Houston became a favorite son, and despite making $100 million.
Herb Williams. Everyone, Herb is still...
Herb's a good coach.
Herb's still around somewhere, I'm sure.
He'll always be around
right,
somewhere.
But that's what I'm talking about.
But George Steinbrenner was like that too.
Right.
And I think the thing that they had in common, well, at least until the end, was that neither one of them was exactly well liked. But I understand what you're saying. He does do that.
They work on their own ways.
Yes, they have their own way of doing things. But it's going to be a tricky month or whatever it is that however long it takes for Anthony to find a deal and find a home. I like to think that he's going to stay with the Knicks because it seems like it's the best place for him. And the Knicks will be able to add more players next season, or I should say after next season. So it's a matter, though, of who's around, because the talk had been the Knicks will bring in Kevin Love. Well, Kevin Love is obviously going to be on another team, and probably before Thursday's draft or maybe just after it. But Kevin Love will not be a Knick. It's highly unlikely unless the Timberwolves trade him, they get less value than they should, and Love doesn't sign an extension and decides to become a free agent. Then it's a possibility. But you're taking that chance, and that's always a risky proposition too. He might like where he gets traded, decide he's going to sign a long-term deal, and then where are the Knicks? They're offering someone along the lines of Amari Stoudemire, again, $100 million and overpaying for him, and now we're back in the same situation we were in 3-4 years ago when LeBron decided to go to Miami and kind of laughed when people said, oh, we thought you were going to the Knicks.
Well, everyone thought he was.
No.
Everyone thought his brand would work better with the Knicks.
Well, that obviously turned out to be a mistake, and the Knicks fans suffered for it. So you can't pin your hopes on one guy. You need to have backup plans, and the Knicks didn't have a backup plan. The backup plan was Amari Stoudemire, who most people in the NBA knew his knees weren't going to last the length of the contract, and they haven't. So, Stoudemire's a good guy. I like him. He works hard, but he's making something like $23 million this year, and that's just it's a gross waste of money.
That's a lot of money.
He's not a guy who's worth that kind of contract, but that's the NBA, and that's what guys are making, and that's the deal he signed. So. What is it they say? If somebody's willing to pay it, then you're worth it. So, Stoudemire's worth it for one more year anyway.
Maybe he's worth it. I don't know.
So, but we'll see. It's Pat Riley earlier in the week, or I guess late, middle of last week, had his press conference and didn't even sit down before he just went into it and started talking to the media and was demanding this thing that the media in Miami start trending stuff on Twitter. About the big three, and was basically almost challenging them and saying, well, you don't walk out the door when things get tough, and I don't know where some of this stuff came from. It seemed kind of bizarre, but who knows? Maybe some of that hair gel is seeping into Pat's brain or something. But
it was nice to see Pat show emotion.
Well, but it was just kind of silly. It was they know what they have there. It's not like he's giving them any kind of revelation, and they also know, like I said before, that they're in a division that gives them the easiest path to the NBA Finals. And once you get to the finals, it's basically a crapshoot. Can you win? Can you not win? Miami needs to build a better bench, a much better bench actually, and they need to have some sort of a contingency plan for Dwayne Wade's knees, because he's not in good health, and that's just going to get worse. Basketball players' knees rarely ever get better. They almost always get worse, and just they disintegrate over time. And Wade is already at that point where he's suffering, and he didn't have any kind of explosiveness in the NBA Finals against the Spurs, and you could just tell. I mean, he's not nearly the player he used to be. So when you call them the big three, that's kind of in name only at this point. And Bosch was never really that caliber of player,
but he was included.
Well, but I mean, don't get me wrong, good player and very good player as a matter of fact, but to call him an elite guy and to put him in the same category with a healthy Dwayne Wade and LeBron James, no, he's not there. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Yankees. What's going to happen with them? What's happening with them? First of all, the Mets are. It's almost like it's almost too quiet over at Citi Field. Like nothing's happening, which is a bad thing.
The Mets won a few games actually.
They did, but it's just it doesn't seem to matter even when they do win. The image is so bad right now for this team. It's just not even funny anymore as a Met fan.
Well,
but the Yankees are still doing good. They're playing around where they should be.
Well, I mean, the Yankees right now are it's they're up and they're down. It's kind of been a difficult situation because they swept the Toronto Blue Jays, looked really good in that series. They got some strong pitching, and it was nice to see. They pulled within a game and a half of first place, and it looked like things were back on the upswing. And then this weekend happened, and the bats just went to sleep. And so many people are talking about the Yankees, and they need pitching, and they need to make a trade and get an arm. And whether it's David Price, who I really doubt is going to be traded to another American League East team by the Tampa Bay Rays, or Jeff Samardzija, who is going to require just an enormous outlay of prospects. And the Cubs are said to want major league ready prospects, and the Yankees don't have the caliber of prospect that the Cubs are going to want. So I don't see that trade happening. But that's the prevailing opinion is the Yankees need arms. And I'm sorry, but I personally think the Yankees need another bat. And I think they also do need another arm. But you look at CC Sabathia, and when is he going to come back from his knee issue? Michael Pineda supposedly had another setback with his shoulder, and that's turning into a very long-term thing. So if those two guys, if you could figure out when either one of them or both of them are going to be back, it almost solves your rotation problem, because now you can get Vidal Nuno out of there, who's just been a complete disaster recently. It seems like he gets one good start for every three bad ones, and you can get him out of there. You get CC back in, and not that CC has been the ace that he should be and he's being paid to be, but at least you kind of have a better idea of what you're getting with him, and you know what kind of competitor he is. Pineda pitched well early, pitched well in spring training, looked like it was going to be a really good season for him, and he was going to be that dominant number two guy that the Yankees made the trade for 3 years ago. But now it seems like he can't get his shoulder straight, and he can't get back onto the field. So even when he does get healthy, it's going to take at least 3 weeks, if not a month, for him to be ready to pitch, because he's pretty much going to have to go through spring training all over again to get his arm ready for to get back in the rotation. So things are pretty good for the Yankees right now. I'll say I was at Saturday's game. I was there with a party for my man Jeff Roberts is actually getting married in a couple of weeks, and we had his bachelor party. Part of the festivities were us going to the Yankees game on Saturday, and it was the game was dreadful. I mean, it's the only word for it. Somehow the Yankees wind up getting shut down by kind of, I don't want to say nobody, but Bud Norris is not exactly a legend. And then Chris Tillman yesterday somehow manages to outduel Masahiro Tanaka, which, I mean, Tanaka comes into the game with an 11-1 record, and Chris Tillman shuts out the Yankees for 7 innings. And if that doesn't scream, we need another bat, I don't know what does.
Okay, well, it's screaming.